Okay, shall we start? I request all of you to be silent only, then I'll start. If I still see you talking, I'll just ask you to leave the class. Those of you in the back, can you come to the front? We have less students today, so everyone please come to the front. Please be quick. So we have a lot of empty desks here. I don't want to see anyone in the last 3 rows. I'll repeat, nobody in the last 3 rows. Okay, I'll repeat until and unless you become silent, I won't start the session. I'm okay if I just keep standing here for next 1 hour. I'll give you the lab and you can implement it on your own. If you become silent, I'll show you some live coding of the Java programs and you can do it alongside me. I expect complete silence, otherwise I won't start it. Okay. So I'll repeat this step again. So some of you are finding it difficult to navigate to the correct folder through your terminal or through your PowerShell. So I'm going to repeat that step again. So first of all, don't write your Java programs just anywhere. So you are going to write a whole lot of Java programs. So you should know where those programs are. You should keep them organized in a folder. Now this folder can be anywhere. So as you see, it can be on my desktop, or you can go here, create a folder in your documents, wherever you want. So go to any of these locations. I'm going to use my desktop for now. I'm going to create let's say a new folder here. But you can also create this folder even through terminal and you can name it anything. So I'm naming it Java programs. You enter into this folder. So currently this folder is empty and this is the folder where you are going to write all your Java codes. I'll again repeat, this folder can be anywhere on your system. Nobody in the last 3 rows. Please come to front. There's lot of space over here. All of you, please come to front. Okay. So now you can open PowerShell and you can navigate to this location, or an easier way to do this is you in specs. Can you just call the person blue shirt in specs? Do you want to leave? You see, I don't want to continue like this. I don't have this much energy keeping to ask you just to shut up. Please don't do that. Please leave if you are not interested and attend it from your hostels. You can do that. You have the link, right? If you don't want to sit here, please leave. Please don't make me angry. And why are all of you late? I'm asking 3 of you. Why are you late? Where were you? What were you doing? Did you have a class before this? Hmm? Where are your bags, notebooks? I can even ask you to leave right now. I don't want to be frank with you if you cannot respect your instructors. I don't intend to be frank. Okay, so you can go to PowerShell and you can navigate to this location, right? You can see the path over here. Or an easier way to do it is you right click here and you click on open in terminal. Now you will see this option open in terminal on all operating systems. I'm sure you see it in Linux. On Mac, you might have to figure out if you face you are seeing this. Good, right? So you directly get the path over here. You don't have to manually enter it. So on your PowerShell, you are currently in this folder. Next, you need to create a Java file here. Now, please don't right click here and create a new text document. Don't do that because if you do that, the extension of the file will be .txt and we don't want a txt file. We want a Java source file. So there are two ways to do this. One, you open Notepad, Notepad++, write your source code and save it. And don't just blindly save it to this location. So when you save it, it should appear in this folder, right, where you are working. Or an easier way is through your PowerShell, you write Notepad. So in whichever folder you are, a file will be created here itself. And then you can say hello.java. Next time onwards, I won't allow you entry if you come late to my class. It's already 10 minutes beyond time. Before this, class said. Okay, can you send me an email with the timings of that class so that I can talk to Dr. Murtaja? Okay, so you can do a notepad hello.java. Click on yes here. So you can see that a file hello.java is created right here. Right? So again, you don't need to manually do it. Or you can delete it. If you want to work with Notepad++, there is a slight workaround. So if you do here Notepad++ hello.java, you see this error and it doesn't recognize Notepad++ as a command. So here to make Notepad++ a command, you have a few workarounds that you can use. So first is you provide the complete path to Notepad++. Wherever the software is installed on your system. So in Windows system, you'll see it in program files. There will be a folder for Notepad++. And here is the executable Notepad++. Copy its path. So in Windows, you use this symbol and this is going to open whatever software, whatever path you provide next to it. So you can do this. That is one way. So it opens directly from here. Now, the point is writing this big path again and again is going to be cumbersome. So what you can do is you can set an alias for this. Alias is like a variable or a reference. So instead of writing this entire path again, you can do set alias. So I'm going to call it Notepad++, this entire path. Right, so this is done now. Now, if you do Notepad++, it will open directly from here. That is another way. Now, whenever you set this alias, it is only for the current session of this PowerShell. If you close this PowerShell, again open a new window, you'll have to do this step again. If you don't want to do it again and again, there is a third way, that is to set up the environment variables in your system. That you might have done when you installed Java. You would have set a path for Java C, if you remember the installation steps. So what you can do is, go to settings, go to system environment variables. And in this path here, add a new path, which is going to be the path to your Notepad++. So once you have added this, now you can directly use Notepad++ as a command anytime in your system. You won't have to do this again and again. So I'm going to keep this folder where we are working open in front of you so that you can see how files are being created. Okay. So now I'm going to create a file. Let's say hello.java. So you can see that this file got created here in this folder. You write the code. Now, when you write the code, so my request to you is right now, don't specify any keyword in front of your class. Even if I mentioned it in the lab document yesterday, forget it. Do not declare your class is public for now. Simply have a class keyword. We'll later see what a public class means. It comes with its own restrictions. So you might see some error. Simply write class. And whatever class name you are writing here, it can be anything. It need not be the same as your file name. So your file name is hello.java, but your class. So I'm going to create a class called hi. And then your main function with the same syntax. And your output command for Java, system.out.print. So if you write print, it will print it and remain in the same line. If you write println, it will print it and cursor will move to the next line. So you see whether you want to use print or println. And let me say, done. So the code is complete now. Please note that this is the source code, what you call a code in high level programming language. And as you know, computer understands which language. What's the language of the machine? It's machine language, right? It's all binary. So there has to be some software which converts this high level language to machine language. You might know this already, right? And that's what's called a compiler. So when you compile this file, all these instructions, they will be converted to a form that your machine can understand. So you first compile it and then run it. The command for compilation is javac followed by the name of your source file, which is hello.java here. Right, now carefully see what's going to happen folder when we compile this. So as you see, the moment you do it, you see a new file emerging here, which is hi and which is a class file. Right? Compile a Java source file, you get a class file, which you can treat like a machine language code, which you can now execute. The command to execute is Java. And when you execute here, you provide the class name, not the name of the source file. So your class name is hi. So that's how it executes. That's the first thing. I had just repeated it. We have done it in the first session. Now, point number 2 is in a Java source code, you can have as many classes as you want. Right, so I'm going to delete this hi for now. So you can either right click on it and do a delete, or you can do rm hi.class, which is easier and faster. So the moment you do it, rm means remove. This file is deleted from this folder. I'm again going to come here and this time I'm going to create one more class in the same source file, which is hello.java. And you print something here. Right, done. Go back to your PowerShell. And now you see when you compile this file hello.java, this time 2 class files are created, one for each class. So one is hi.class, another is by.class, and you can execute whichever of these you want. So if you write Java hi, your first class will be executed. If you write by, your second class will be executed. So the point is you can have as many classes as you want in a single Java source file. You can even have hundreds of them. Right? So you don't need to write separate Java codes for all of these. Any questions so far? So this is a very basic framework of a simple Java program. Now let's start doing more things with it. So the next is the creation of variables and data types. So your data types in Java, they are pretty much the same as C with a similar syntax. Let me create a separate file for that. Let's call it data.java. And let me create a class called variables here. So again, your basic syntax remains the same. Your main function. And inside this, you can create as many variables as you want. So what data types do you know of already? What are the data types that you remember from C? Int, arrays, char, boolean, double, float. Right? So you can use any of them here. So you can create an integer variable just like you do it in C. So let's say int I equals to 10. You can create a character variable. Let's say char C equals to A. You can also create a boolean variable. You can create a double. Right? There is one more data type which is available in Java, which is not similar in C, which is a string data type. Right? In C, you can actually use the header file string.h, but C doesn't have a basic data type string, which Java has. So you can write a string here S, and you can directly create a string here. In C, you need to work with strings like an array of characters. So that is not needed here. So we have created 4 variables, right? How do you print them? You don't need any format specifier in Java, something like %d, %c, that is not required. Whatever you want to print, you can just write that here directly. So let's say you want to print I, C, D, S. Right, so I'm printing all of these variables. Class name is variables. If you want to see what files are there in this folder, you can directly see here ls. Right? It lists all the files which are there in this folder. So you see data.java. That is what we are going to compile. The moment you do it, you see this variables.class here, which you can run.
How are you feeling?
So you see all these 4 variables printed here. Now, let's say you don't want to directly print these variables. You want to print something like, let's say I is this, right? Or C is this. So how do you combine that? So it
How
is
did you have
slightly
one phone
similar to
today?
Python. So you can say
What?
in Python, you will do something like this, right? I is comma I. That is
Bro,
the
I
syntax.
and it's
Here,
last time, but
instead
I
of
was
comma,
halfway
you
through.
use a plus, which is a concatenation operator. So it will concatenate it with this. You can concatenate further also. Let's say you want a full stop after this, right? So I is this followed by full stop. And since you change the file, you need to compile it again and run this. One more thing, you don't have to type these commands again and again. You press the up arrow and it will show you what commands you have executed in the past. That's history. Right? So you don't
This
have to
video and I
type
want to do
these
it
terminal commands again and again. Use up arrow. So when it prints I is 10, there is no space after is. If you want a space, you need to place it here. So you see that space here. So that's how you work with variables. Your conditionals are also pretty much same as variables. So let me just create one more file for that.
What is to know?
Let's say I'm creating a file called vote.java. So in vote.java, based on the age of a person, we'll apply a conditional statement to see whether the person can vote or not. So you can have any class name. I'm keeping the class name also as vote, but it can be anything. Let's say you have int age and give it some number, let's say 21, right? Now, how do you check? The same if else conditions, just like you have in C. You can say if age is, let's say, less than 18, you can say not eligible, else. So this is a simple if else. You can also use if else, if else, if else, if ladder. The same way as you do it in C. You can also use your and or operators, just like you do that in C. If age is less than 18 and age is greater than 0, something like that. So this is your and operator, this is your or operator. Exactly similar to how it was in C. In one single line. Good question. So there is this question. So let's say you want to print all of these variables in one line, right? How can we do that? So one way to do that is you say I equals to this, right? Comma, and you just have to smartly combine it. You see, so plus is the concatenation operator, right? So it is going to print this I equals to, this string will be printed, right? Followed by the value of I. Then this string will be printed followed by the value of C. We don't need to just come again. Yes, this should be in double quotes because this is a string that you are printing. So whatever is in double quotes is a string. It will appear as it is, similar to Python. Whatever is not in strings, it will look for its value. As an example, if you write a k here, it will show you an error because there is no variable called k in this program. Okay, so conditional statements also same as C. So now we'll solve a few questions based on this. So can you take your time and figure out the answer to this? If you want, you can code it on your respective machines. So the idea is when you run this file, your output should be this, what is shown to you in the second line. And you have to fill in the blanks here. So if you know C language well, you should be able to do this. Although it's a Java code, but the logic is exactly the same. So take your time, and if you have any questions, you can raise your hands and I'll come there. Okay, so what should be this? Less than 3, right? So what do you want? You want this particular part to be executed exactly 2 times. Right? You want do B, do B. So it should repeat 2 times. So when will it repeat 2 times? If you place x is less than 1 here, it will never execute because x is equal to 1. If you place x is less than 2 here, it will execute once, right? Because then x will increase to 2. So if you place it equals to 3, while x is less than 3, it will print it 2 times. By the time you come out of this loop, x would have become equal to 3, right? So, so you dry run it. X equals to 1, 1 is less than 3. So it prints it once, and then x becomes 2. X is 2, 2 is still less than 3, so it prints it again, and then x becomes 3. 3 is not less than 3, so you come out of the loop, and now you want this to be executed. So this should also be 3 here. Okay, can you try to solve this one? This is slightly trickier. So this is a scrambled code that is given to you, right? But you can use braces as many times wherever you want. So using this code, your output should be A minus B space C minus D. Right? So how do you arrange this code to get that output? For the year, otherwise you won't be able to get. So your output should be so this should be your output, and there is one space between B and C. Platforms X minus one system. So what it is, they have Okay, so how do we do it? So first of all, the first line, first block should be this, right? Because the Java code always starts with a class. So class and your main. So this is your first block that comes here. What next? If you want to use x, you have to initialize it next. So let's say we place int x equals to 3 here. Right? Next, you want a minus b. So you see where a is getting printed. I'm just working according to the intuition. Right? Next, you want a. So you can get this block. Right? So if your x is greater than 2, which is the case, you print an a. Right? So a comes. Next you want to be printed is b space. Next you want a minus. Right? Next you want a minus which comes from this block. So let's place this block here. X equals to x minus 1. And then you print a minus. Right? So you get a. So we can think about that later, right? I'm thinking from the very fundamentals, how one can start solving this problem. We'll see where to fit the while loop also. Right? So this code right now will print a minus. Next you need BC. So when you do x equals to x minus 1, x has become 2. So next you can get this block here. If x equals to 2, you print a b and c. And then you again want a minus. Right? So if you but the point is you cannot reuse this again. So any ideas? You can reuse the curly braces as many times as you want, but you cannot reuse a piece of code, a code snippet again. So there, that is where the while loop will help you. So anyhow, after that you want a D to be printed. So I'm forgetting about the minus right now. So if x equals to 1, you print a D and then you do x equals to x minus 1. Right? And let's say we place this entire thing inside this while x greater than 0. Now think about whether this code will work or not. So you'll have to dry run it to see how it works. How many of you figured it out? Can you raise your hands? 3. Take your time. I'll give you 2 more minutes. Can you post a snapshot of your solution on the WhatsApp group of your notebook of the solution? Yes. Just take a photo and put it on WhatsApp. You can put it there. So this is the solution. Right now, you should carefully dry run it to see how it is working. Right? So you start from here, right? X is 3 currently. You come to the while loop, check whether X is greater than 0. Well, yes, 3 is greater than 0. Come to the first if condition, check if 3 greater than 2. Yes, it is greater than 2. Hence, you see a printed, right? Then you reduce X. So it was 3 previously, right? You do X equals to X minus 1, X becomes 2. And then you print a minus. Next, you check if X equals to 2. Well, yes, it is equal to 2. So you print a B space C, right? Next, you come down. If X equals to 1, is X equals to 1? No, it is not, right? So this D is not printed right now. The loop gets over. And you again come back to the top of the while loop and check is X greater than 0? Well, yes, it is greater than 0. It is 2. Again, go to the first if condition. Is X greater than 2? No, it is not greater than 2. It is equal to 2. Deduce X here. Note that this X equals to X minus 1 is outside the if condition. Now your X becomes 1. And then it prints a minus. Then check if X equals to 2. No, it is not. If X equals to 1, well, it is. So it prints a D and then reduces X. X becomes equals to 0 now. Come back to the while loop. Is X greater than 0? It is not. So you come out of the while loop. And that's how it executes. Right? Again, it is less about Java, more about logical thinking of how conditionals and loops work. In general, talking about loops in Java, they work pretty much the same. How it works in, again, your C. You have for loop, while loop, do while loop, and you can implement them in exactly the same way. Right? So you can do int I equals to 1 for I equals to 1, or You can also directly declare it here. I less than equals to 10, I plus plus. And that's all. So that's a for loop. If you want to execute it, it's fine. Right, so semicolon is missing. So it's okay. You can also use a while loop for this. So how do you use a while loop for this? The same way. Int I equals to 1, while I is less than or equals to 10. Right, I hope you know that usually you have curly braces after your loops, but then the point is if there is only one single statement in loop, you need not have curly braces. So that is some of the very basic syntax. Tomorrow we are going to take a look at how do you take input in Java, how do you write functions, and how do you work with arrays. Then you will practice them in tomorrow's lab. Next week there will be an assignment on this very basics of Java followed by a test. I'll give you the assignment soon. There's a lot of questions that you can practice. So we'll stop here. If you have any questions, we can discuss. Yeah. You have said so on Mac, you don't have Notepad. You'll have to see which text editor use that. Yesterday, I didn't submit my book. I'll take it from you on Thursday. I'll let you know the time and things. Okay. Text it.
When can we submit our lab book?